Oprah sheds tears for Wendy Williams. They meant to say Gail. But like, I thought that this was a joke myself. I'm like, nobody needs to shed tears for me. I got this on lock. Okay.
Like how when R. Kelly got interviewed, everyone's gonna want to talk to Bill Cosby just to get his side of the story.
I believe Oprah's the only one who'd stoop to that level.
Yeah, you never know, man. It's thirsty out here in these streets, and also too, like he would.
People don't understand when we are in power, the battles we gotta fight that you will never know about. Never. To keep a show on the air, there are things that we have to do that people will tell us. If you want to stay on the air, this is what you got to do. And we got to weigh the options. And sometimes we make bad decisions and we look up and we go, in hindsight.
So it finally happened. Sherri Shepherd took off the nice girl mask, sat down in front of a camera, and let the world know exactly why Wendy Williams has been looking over her shoulder for the past few years. And honestly, the truth is messier than any of us imagined. For the longest time, people thought Wendy was just dealing with her own health battles, her own legal drama, her own exhausting personal life. But according to Sherri, there's a whole other layer to this story, a shadow that's been following Wendy for years. And that shadow has a name: Oprah. Now, before you roll your eyes and say not another celebrity feud, you need to hear what came out of Sherri's mouth. Because this isn't just about two talk show hosts who don't like each other. This is about power, fear, and what happens when you poke the wrong person in an industry that forgives nothing.
My show, Oprah was a fabulous woman when she was on network TV, and Oprah did a lot of, Oprah's show was just a different vibe than mine. I don't intend on turning my show into the Oprah show. I intend on doing my hot topics. I want to giggle and wiggle, and I still want to be a fabulous oasis for people to come once a day for an hour and have a good time, and then we all go home. I have to do a show that's true to my personality, and my personality is responsible, reliable, and accountable, because when I do my show, it's taking an oasis from my own life. So no, I am not the void of Oprah. The only reason why people say that is because we're both black, by the way.
To really understand why Wendy is allegedly terrified of Oprah, we have to rewind the tape a little. Long before the purple dresses and the iconic "How you doin'," Wendy was just a girl from New Jersey who loved radio. She was loud, unfiltered, and unapologetically messy, long before messy was trendy. And here's the part that breaks your heart a little. Wendy used to look up to Oprah. She said it herself in old interviews. Oprah was the blueprint, the woman who broke down doors so other black women could walk through them. Wendy admired that. She wanted that. But somewhere between radio and daytime television, the admiration curdled into something else. The media started pitting them against each other without even trying. They'd say Wendy was the wild, unpredictable cousin who would ask a rapper if he was on drugs, while Oprah sat on her throne asking about childhood trauma. The industry loved contrast, and Wendy, she leaned into it. She had to. Being nice wasn't getting her ratings, being polite wasn't selling ads, so she became the person who said the quiet part out loud.
People are furious because Oprah is the new face of Weight Watchers, plus she's got that investment with Weight Watchers, so she's like a boss and a dieter at the same time. If she wants to lose a few pounds, there are a few pounds to lose. But if she doesn't lose any weight at all, and all she is a boss at Weight Watchers, you girls, don't be mad at Oprah because you guys dropped the football and she picked it up and ran to the bank with it.
The thing is, Oprah noticed. Of course she noticed. Oprah didn't become a billionaire by ignoring threats. And in her eyes, Wendy wasn't just another host. Wendy was a problem. Now, let's get into the actual drama, because this is where things go from awkward to genuinely sinister. According to people who were in the room, the tension exploded behind closed doors when Aretha Franklin decided to give her final interview to Wendy instead of Oprah. Think about that for a second. The queen of soul, dying of cancer, and she chooses the so-called shock jock over the most powerful woman in media? An insider back then described Oprah as being angrier than anyone had ever seen her. Not sad, not disappointed, angry. Because in Oprah's mind, that interview belonged to her. She had done the dinners, she had made the calls, she had played the game for decades. And then Wendy swoops in with her hot mic and her unfiltered questions and steals the moment. That was the turning point. That's when the quiet competition became a Cold War.
To first acknowledge what I've been in denial for 37 years. And that is, I did assault and inappropriately touch my sister in manners that were not comfortable for her. And for that, I apologize.
Brother ever apologized to you?
The apology that I got from my brother is, if you think I did something wrong, then I'm sorry.
They were my exact words to my sister. Well, there's no more if you think I did it. You were absolutely right with what you said. I did it.
Now, there's two parts to Oprah Winfrey that I haven't really spoken about publicly. The other part with Oprah Winfrey is, yeah, you let me get thrown under the bus and you said nothing. The other part is you mess with my family. You mess with my mother, my father. She called me about my brother, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, listen, everybody can change. He wanted to apologize for me. She said, Monique, would it be okay that he comes on? And would you like to come on? I said, I don't want nothing to do with that cat, but I don't want to get in the way of his blessing. If he's changing, I don't want to stop that. She never said my mother. She never said my father. Now, I know who my parents were because they're both gone. I know who they are. I know my mother's greed. I know my father's greed. And you did not say that you were going to have my parents. Because had you said you had my mother, now we had a conversation and I said to her, me and my mother are not in a good place.
But here's the twist. Wendy didn't apologize. She didn't try to smooth things over. She actually turned the heat up even more. In 2011, she decided to address the rumors about Oprah and Gayle King's friendship falling apart, right there on air, in front of millions. Wendy laughed about it. She joked that maybe Gayle finally got tired of being Oprah's +1. The disrespect was so casual, so effortless, that it almost felt like Wendy wanted Oprah to hear it. And hear it, Oprah did. But instead of calling a press conference or firing off a tweet, she did something way more calculated. She sent a letter, a physical printed letter to Wendy's show. Now, most people would have read that letter privately and maybe backed off a little. Not Wendy. Wendy pulled that letter out on camera like a trophy. She read it to her audience with a smirk on her face. The letter basically said to keep Oprah's name out of discussions about Gayle. But here's where the story gets dark. Allegedly, Oprah added a weird little line at the end. She told Wendy to stay black. Nobody knows exactly what that meant, but given Oprah's history of being accused of code switching for mainstream white audiences, people took it as a low blow, a way of saying Wendy was too ghetto, too loud, too much.
You are certainly delivering a lot of people. And Sherri, I would cry with you, but my lashes got to get me through.
I know, girl. I got the long ones on too. I can't lose these lashes. I can't lose this face.
I'll never forget your interview with Oprah Winfrey, who opened the door for you, for me. You brought something out of Oprah that I had never seen before. She was laughing, she was light, and you could tell that she understood that you knew and know who you are.
Essence magazine even published an article about that missing line. And Oprah? She denied ever sending the letter, but the damage was done. Wendy had crossed a line and she didn't even realize how deep she was in. But wait, it gets worse, because Wendy didn't stop at letters and rumors. She went for the jugular. In 2018, Oprah gave that legendary Golden Globe speech. You remember it, the one that made everyone cry and start talking about her running for president. The whole world was applauding, the whole world was moved. And then Wendy got on her show the very next day and made fun of Oprah's weight. She joked about Oprah popping out of her corset. She questioned why Oprah was still the face of Weight Watchers when she clearly wasn't losing weight. Now look, we've all seen messy moments on television, but body-shaming Oprah Winfrey on national television the morning after one of her biggest career highlights? That wasn't just messy, that was suicidal in an industry sense. Wendy knew what she was doing. Or maybe she didn't. Maybe she thought she was untouchable. Maybe she thought her ratings would protect her. But here's what Wendy didn't count on. Oprah doesn't forget, and Oprah doesn't forgive. She plays the long game. Now this is where Sherri Shepherd's recent confession comes in and ties everything together. According to Sherri, Wendy has been scared of Oprah for years. Not the kind of scared where you avoid someone at a party, the kind of scared where you check your rearview mirror constantly. Sherri said that behind the scenes, Wendy would talk about Oprah like she was a force of nature you couldn't fight. Like trying to stand up to Oprah was like trying to stand up to a hurricane. And here's the part that makes your stomach turn. Sherri claims that Oprah may have had a direct hand in Wendy losing her show. Think about the timing. Wendy's health starts falling apart, her marriage falls apart, her finances fall apart, and suddenly, Debmar Mercury has no problem sliding Sherri Shepherd right into that time slot. They didn't fight for Wendy. They didn't wait for her to get better. They replaced her. And who was one of the first people to show up and support Sherri? Oprah. Oprah came on Sherri's new show, sat on that couch, smiled for the cameras, gave her a hug while Sherri cried grateful tears. Meanwhile, during the entire run of Wendy's show, not a single appearance, not a single shout-out, not a single public well-wish. Silence.
I have some big news for you. Starting in September, I am debuting my own talk show, Sherri! I have always wanted to do a talk show. Even before I joined The View in 2007, I wanted this job bad. I'm telling you, I call Barbara every day. About 4 years ago, I started telling God, I said, Lord, I want a talk show. And when God says it's so, it will be.
I'm not mad at Wendy. She's going through a lot. I would say that everybody should be praying for Wendy right now. I'm very concerned. I'm really, truly concerned about her because I don't feel like there's anybody over there protecting her. And it's really hard when there's no protection around you and you just have people hanging on. So, yeah. But I'm not mad at Wendy because she won't watch my show. If you was worried about everybody that don't like you or not gonna watch you, you'd be, I already got a broken shoe. I can't take on no more stress.
Now, Sherri didn't come right out and say Oprah pulled the strings. She's too smart for that. But she hinted. She danced around it. She said Wendy was afraid of what Oprah could do to her career if she spoke out. And honestly, look at what happened to Monique. Monique went public about Oprah and Tyler Perry blackballing her after Precious. She said she walked away with almost nothing while they made millions, and when she refused to play their game, doors slammed shut everywhere. Wendy watched that happen. Wendy saw what happened to Monique, and Wendy knew she had done way worse to Oprah than Monique ever did. Wendy body-shamed her, Wendy mocked her friendship, Wendy read her private letter on air. In Oprah's world, that's not just disrespect, that's war. So when Wendy started getting sick, when the Graves' disease and the thyroid issues started piling up, when her behavior became more erratic and unpredictable, a lot of people assumed it was just health problems. But Sherri is suggesting something darker. She's suggesting that Wendy's fear of Oprah added a psychological weight that made everything worse. Imagine knowing that one of the most powerful women in the world might be quietly working against you. Imagine knowing that every time you try to make a comeback, someone might be making a call to make sure you don't. Wendy started drinking more. She started showing up late. She forgot lines. She lashed out at staff. And the industry just watched. They didn't help. They didn't intervene. They just waited for her to fall so they could fight over the scraps. And here's the saddest part of all. Wendy used to be the one who exposed everyone else's secrets. She sat behind that purple chair and tore down celebrities for a living. She asked about divorces, addictions, bankruptcies. She made a fortune off other people's pain. But when it was her turn to be vulnerable, when she needed grace, nobody gave it to her. Not the industry, not the networks, and certainly not Oprah. Sherri said something in that interview that stuck with me. She said, Wendy once told her, be careful who you make angry on your way up, because they might be the only one who can catch you on your way down. Wendy knew. She knew she had made an enemy that couldn't be defeated, and instead of apologizing, instead of backing down, she just kept poking the bear until the bear finally poked back. Now, I'm not saying Oprah destroyed Wendy's career single-handedly. Wendy made her own choices. She said what she said, she did what she did. But you cannot ignore the pattern. Oprah has a long history of allegedly making life difficult for Black women who don't bow down. Monique, now Wendy, and who knows how many others who were too afraid to speak up. The difference is, Monique fought back publicly. Wendy couldn't even do that. Wendy just crumbled. She disappeared from the public eye. She went into a facility. She lost control of her finances. And Sherri Shepherd, the woman who replaced her, is now the one telling the world that Wendy was scared, that the big, loud, unstoppable Wendy Williams was terrified of a woman who doesn't even have to raise her voice to ruin you. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a question that's uncomfortable to ask out loud. Is Oprah a gatekeeper or a bully? Can she be both? Can she be a philanthropist who gives away millions and also a woman who quietly destroys anyone who embarrasses her? I think the answer is yes. I think powerful people don't have to be all good or all bad. And I think Wendy learned that lesson too late. She thought being entertaining would protect her. She thought being real would save her. But in an industry built on favors and fear, being real just makes you a target. And now, Wendy is gone from daytime television. Sherri sits in that chair. And Oprah never has to think about that letter or those weight comments ever again. She won. Quietly. Cleanly. Without ever raising her voice. That's the scariest part about crossing someone like Oprah. She doesn't need to fight you. She just needs to wait. And eventually, you'll do more damage to yourself than she ever could. So, what do you think? Was Sherri right to finally speak up about Wendy's fear, or should she have kept this behind closed doors? And do you really believe Oprah had a hand in taking Wendy off the air, or is this just two messy women pointing fingers? Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, click the video on the screen, because trust me, the next story is even messier.